If you like what you see in the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and maybe check out my Patreon and social media in the description. So if you're on the left like me, you certainly do not like most celebrities. I know there's this perception of liberal Hollywood, but that is exactly what they are. They're liberals, they're not on the left. So liberals to me, people who are socially progressive, but don't really have any understanding of economics or class or anything like that. So their tokenism on these issues are normally pretty meaningless because they don't understand the root of the problem. So obviously coronavirus is a big issue at the moment. It's obviously sweeping the globe. It's really scary for people, and it's really threatening the global economy. There's food shortages, there's all these things. So people are saying, let's come together to defeat this global pandemic. Let's ensure we survive it by working together. Stop hoarding food, stop being horrible to each other. Forget about politics, forget about party lines. Let's just work together to get through this. Now, speaking to celebrities not offering anything, these celebrities got together and thought it'd be a good idea to do a little cut where each person sung a bit of John Lennon's Imagine. So this includes Gal Gadot, Jamie Dornan, Natalie Portman, Zoe Kravitz, Zia, Linda Carter, Amy Adams, Mark Ruffalo, surprisingly, Ashley Benson, and some other people. So I'm going to play it for you in a sec. I haven't actually listened to it because it is, to me, that is just so cringeworthy. I don't want to watch it and I don't want to listen to it. And when I'm editing the video, I'm probably actually not going to listen to it either, just I can't handle it. But please take a look at it quick and you can cringe yourself and you can do what I won't.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
No hell below us,
above us only sky.
Imagine all the people
living for today. Yeah.
Imagine there's no countries, yeah.
It isn't hard to do.
Nothing to kill or die for.
And no religion too. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one.
imagine no possessions.
I wonder if you can. No need for greed and hunger. Brotherhood of man.
Sharing all the world, you. They may say that I'm a dreamer,
But I'm not the only one.
I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.
So yeah, there you go. There is the big solution to the coronavirus. It's a bunch of elite celebrities who won't suffer from this pandemic, who will probably be in perfect health by the end of it, will get testing if they feel like they have it, and they'll be fine. Most of these celebrities will be fine because they have wealth. Now, what should these people actually be doing? They should be putting their money where their mouth is, but most of them obviously won't. So let's take a good example. I'm sure there's lots of good examples, so please leave in the comments if you can think of celebrities actually doing good stuff during this pandemic. But here is former Manchester United footballer and footballing legend in this country, Gary Neville. You guys might not have heard of him if you don't follow football. Here he is, opening his doors of the 2 hotels he owns in Manchester for the NHS to use to help combat the pandemic.
I just wanted to update you with some news on GG Hospitality and our 2 hotels, Hotel Football and the Stock Exchange. We'll be closing both our hotels over the weekend, in particular on Sunday. It's obviously been a difficult time for the whole of the hospitality industry, and the most important thing as a priority is the health of our staff and our guests, and we've taken this decision with that foremost in our minds. The second most important thing are our staff and our team members. and that they retain their income over the next few months. We will not be making anybody redundant or offering anybody, asking anybody to take unpaid leave. We're working together now on a package with our staff to ensure that they retain income. They're our most important people and the people with the lifeblood of our business. And the third thing is that over the last week we've been in consultation with the health services in the Greater Manchester area, in particular the Manchester University National Health Services Foundation Trust, and our 176 beds will be occupied by National Health Service workers and medical professionals from Friday onwards. It's at this moment in time that I think the whole of our industry needs to show solidarity, not just for our staff in these uncertain times, but for obviously the people who need the accommodation most in the coming months. And it's something that we're delighted to have been able to come into an agreement with. It'll be free of charge. Our staff will operate the hotels as normal, and the health workers will be allowed to stay there without any cost whatsoever in this next few months when they need isolation away from family members who may be affected by what's going on. It's obviously very difficult times, and we hope that we can grow out of this stronger as a hotel business beyond what's happening. But for the time being, stay safe and wish everybody all the best.
So yeah, Gary Neville just seems like an all-round good guy, and you can see from the video, he's a generally good guy. He supported Labour in the election, and he has used his platform as a football pundit now and a football commentator to call out people like Boris Johnson for racism in this country when we see racism in football. So he's an all-round good guy, so maybe give him a follow. Not that he needs your support, but yeah, it's nice to see a celebrity actually do something for once, because compare what he has done, this guy, who I bet doesn't earn as much as some of these celebrities, you know, Wonder Woman and people like that with these massive films. Of course, footballers are very wealthy, and he has businesses and everything, but I think these people are worth a lot more. But even if they weren't, he's actually doing something, because he still understands, as someone who's come from a normal background, what it's like to be a normal person, where all this hive mind of liberal Hollywood has somehow forgotten, where they think just pretending you're a good person and not actually doing anything is the right thing to do. Now, one thing I'm disappointed Mark Ruffalo is actually in that video, because he is actually one of the good ones who supports Bernie Sanders, calls out a lot of this racism, all these economic issues, obviously stars in films about things like this, so disappointed to see him in it, but whatever, harmless on his part. But I think for the rest of them it's pretty indicative of how shallow their politics are and how they don't really do anything. But then getting into the weirder point of this video, I saw people commenting on it, and one of them was a lady called Yvette Nicole Brown. Now, I saw they were verified, went on their profile, didn't recognise them, saw that they endorse Elizabeth Warren, who, of course, with this election cycle, I think is just an awful politician who is just full of rubbish. So, someone wasn't enjoying it, which I don't blame them. She said, I enjoyed it, you know, and I said, yeah, you also endorse Elizabeth Warren, so it's clear you take quite a liking to vapid bullshit. So, I didn't think she actually replied. Doesn't someone who's verified with 500,000 followers have something better to do than read my reply? But then she said, like your mum when she first looked at you. So I don't think that makes any sense. It's a bad own. She then blocked me, so I couldn't actually reply. So apparently when my mum first looked at me when I was a newborn baby, like 24 years ago, oh, look at this vapid bullshit in my arms. Again, it doesn't actually make sense as an own, and it's not a good one, even if it did make sense. But that was just a weird part of the story. But then someone said they were in a show called Community, so I went on their IMDb page. Turns out it was Helen from Jake and Josh, so someone who I grew up watching on TV, who was this sort of even memeable character, always having a go at Drake and Josh. So it's not that I particularly liked her or thought she was an amazing person, but it's such a weird coincidence. The person I called out on Twitter happened to be someone I'd actually watched in the past, some weird actress. And wasn't she in something else I watched? I forgot what it was. Maybe it was, I don't know if it was Fargo or one of the Marvel films or something. So I've seen her in other things as well. But that was just a weird coincidence there. But again, my overall point, this is just a short video. Liberals in Hollywood and centrists, I don't know what is wrong with them. I don't know if Trump has broken their brains or they've just always been broken. And I think they have always been broken because, of course, back in the day, Hollywood was controlled by these big conglomerates that would sign an actor into a contract. Obviously very wealthy people who treated the actors even worse than they are treated today in certain instances, because, let's keep it real, a lot of actors, not the famous ones, a lot of actors do have a rough life in dealing with all these conditions in the movie industry. But it was controlled by conservatives. Obviously, which, we talk about McCarthyism, the blacklist, people with socialist views were kicked out of Hollywood for a lot of the time. Only with the 60s and the changing of the eras, essentially, with people like Martin Scorsese coming in, these more like guerrilla style filmmakers who just got a camera, went into their local neighborhoods and made films, changed the whole dynamic of Hollywood. But then you get people like that kind of sidelined. When Martin Scorsese dared to challenge people's views of Marvel films, they're like, oh, how dare you, even though he's one of the best people for funding films that just don't get attention, foreign films in particular. And then you have people like Marlon Brando, obviously a total legend in Hollywood, but in terms of his political views, when he won the Oscar for The Godfather, he sent a Native American up to talk about how badly Native Americans have been treated in general society, but also particularly in the film industry, and he gave interviews talking about these things. But they are ostracized and they do this, and there's a lot of people who have done that in Hollywood's history who've been really treated badly. So I don't like to play into this narrative liberal woke Hollywood, but I think their wokeness only goes as far as I must have socially acceptable views. I won't think past that, and I won't diagnose the root of the problem. Because the best example I can think of, people who've watched House of Cards on Netflix, the guy who plays Doug on that is obviously a really good actor. He's a really good character, right? I saw him years ago, just as Trump was getting in, that he wanted Michael Bloomberg to run for president. Please, Michael Bloomberg, run for president. You can unite America. I saw that on Twitter. How can a guy who stars in a show like House of Cards, what that show is about corporate influence, about how power corrupts, about how broken the American system is, that's part of the themes of the show. How can you star in that and then think Michael Bloomberg is a good candidate for president? But again, I think we have to remind ourselves, just because they're in shows that are, I'm not saying House of Cards particularly is high art, but like high art, dealing with heavy concepts and themes, doesn't make the people starring them particularly bright. They just go in it, it's the job for them. A lot of them are very smart, and when you listen to them break it down, I absolutely love listening to certain actors do those roundtables with the Hollywood Reporter. I particularly love the directors and the writers, because these guys are super intelligent, but at the end of the day, a lot of the talent they use, they don't really think about it more than the surface level. And that just is indicative of society. Not everyone thinks about these things. But there's a culture in Hollywood specifically that thinks stuff like that is a good idea. When someone like Gary Neville, and I think a broader point is Gary Neville is putting to shame billionaires. What is Michael Bloomberg doing right now? What is Donald Trump doing with his personal fortune to help these things? What is Richard Branson doing? What are all these billionaires doing to help combat the coronavirus and help ease the burden on the health services? Why is Gary Neville, an ex-footballer who just had a normal background, why is he the guy doing more than all of you guys? And why do these liberal celebrities think, the limit of what they can do is do a stupid song? Put your money where your mouth is. Actually do something. You all have a lot of money. Most of those people in the videos are very, very famous and very wealthy. So actually do something. That's why I always have a problem with Live Aid. And I'm happy people like, I think Phil Collins actually hated being in Live Aid in the end, because it's just so shallow and just makes them feel better about themselves. It doesn't actually do good work, in my opinion. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like and maybe subscribe. Follow me on social media at The Tabernacle on Twitter and Instagram, and please also follow my Facebook if you want. Check out my Reddit. The subreddit is r/The Tabernacle, and my personal Reddit account is u/TommyCahill1995. Follow them both. Probably the best way to stay updated with what I'm doing. Also check out my Patreon in the description. Hopefully on screen you're seeing my new little setup, which is in front of me right now, and it's paid for mostly by Patreon money, so thanks to all my patrons. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.